Hello, you dirty potters. How are you today? This one is a special episode because this comes off the back of our phase glazes from AMACO review. I had a special request from one of my patrons deep in the DMs asking me to mix together teal drift and lunar pink. Now, I did ask for some clarification in this message because I had asked later on, do you want me to do a combination, over, under, or are we actually mixing the sauce? And it seems like she wants me to mix the sauce, which, in my opinion, is a straight up sin. So, we're definitely going to mix the sauce. We're going to be mixing teal drift and lunar pink. We're only going to do these two combos, but we're going to do them over and under. We're going to do an under and over. We're also going to do them on a plate instead of a vertical test style. And we're going to be mixing the juice. Because we care about accuracy to some extent on this channel, we are going to be weighing the amount that we actively mix in. So we're going to turn on the gram scale here. We're going to put this right on top. Tear this off so the numbers reach 0. And we're going to add about 50-50. 50 milliliters of lunar pink and 50 milliliters of teal drift. This is also an older bottle of teal drift. It's about 2 weeks old since the last glaze review that I let out. So this right here has technically been used. However, this one right here has never been used before. We haven't done the glaze review on lunar pink. So this one, please don't do this to me. Don't, oh, every time! I know someone's watching this right now like, well, you're pulling it this way, of course it's gonna tear. That's its weakest point. But when I tear it this way, it doesn't open anyway, so it doesn't matter. Never mind. Right as I said that, it opened the correct way. Oh my god. Dear Lord. You know, I know that the people who use AMACO glazes, and probably to some extent the people that develop the AMACO glazes, are probably brushers. You probably don't have a lot of dippers over there. But dear Lord, could you calm it down on the thickness? You know what I mean? Look, come on, guys, come on.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
But I can't add water to it because it's going to mess up the test results when we do it on YouTube. So I'm going to put this back. I'm not going to add any water to it, even though I really want to. Okay, we have about 50... Oh, my lord. I just splashed myself. Okay, we have about 50 milliliters / grams of the lunar pink. Now let's do 50 of the teal drift. We're going to mix the juice here. That's close. That's real close. We're good. And of course, before we get this test started, let's talk about what we're going to be testing our stuff on today before we actively get into the glazing portion of the video. Here I have 2 B mixed with grog plates. These have been sitting on my shelves for quite some time. And a bonus surprise, I'm going to use these for another video. So we're using this footage as dual footage. But that video I'm going to be using it in is a very big video. So watch out for that in the description below if you haven't seen it yet. So these two are most likely going to be our combination, what I'm calling juice. Our patron here actively wants me to mix the glaze itself before applying it to the bisqueware. So that's what I'm going to do on these 2 plates. We're going to see how it has an effect. We're going to do a double take here. So this is going to be our consistency test with what our request is. This white porcelain test style here is going to be our under-over glaze test. This one here is going to be lunar pink underneath teal drift. I think teal drift will go really nicely over it, so we're going to do the entire thing in lunar pink, just right about here, teal drift. We're going to see how far it runs. This one here is also going to be a combination glaze. We're going to do the reverse of what we did on this one. So this one is going to be teal drift first, and then lunar pink on top. For this one over here, I don't really know what we're going to do yet, but I think I might just mix the juice together again and do an entire coat of this on the top and on the bottom. I want to see how this reacts with gravity. A lot of people don't really keep track of that. I certainly do. Where if you look at a test style, there's a major difference in between the same glaze put on a vertical test style because the gravity is affecting it within the kiln and a horizontal test style. And sometimes they look massively different, as this little picture from AMACO will show you. With that being said, let's get started. For this first one, let's do a good old little mix. Let's not mix them up all the way. I want to see what it looks like if I just kind of pour it on without mixing it too much.
You don't want to be like this. This is disgusting. This is awful in every way. If I could kill it, I would. But I legally can't. But I've considered it.
Oh my god. I'm sure I'm going to pottery hell for this. I'm sure. I'm so sure. I feel like I didn't get a good amount of lunar pink on that, so I'm just gonna... Yeah. Okay, there we go. That way we kind of know where the teal drift versus the lunar pink is. Alright, so we're just gonna smear that on. Smear it on there. We're just gonna leave this to dry a little bit, because this is overglazing quite a bit. This next one we're gonna be far more elegant on, in that we're gonna actively mix the two together before we apply it. And although the blue is definitely overtaking the lunar pink, keep in mind that this is technically two glazes right here. This one here is nice and smooth. This is a fully glazed plate. This one is a combination of the two glazes in a 1-for-1 ratio. However, this one over here I can't really brush, and I know it looks like a horrid mess, but I can't brush this one until the glaze at least dries, because I want to see what happens when you just mix them over and under each other in very thick proportions. 1-for-1 ratio, right? We put them in with each other, we just poured it right on, and so you can really see it's not homogenized, it's just glooping on top of each other. We're going to glaze the rest of this, probably the combination we have left over from the other experiment, at a later time, because I can't touch this right now. So let's move on to our other experiment. Got the inside. Yeah. Oh, that's your favorite right there, huh? When I pour it on and it still comes out really good. The only real problem is it takes 1,000 years to dry. Okay, now let's do our teal drift. Pour it in like we usually do. AMACO was nice enough to send me a couple bottles of this, so we can kind of burn through this a little bit. The only drawback to pouring this stuff on, it saves tons of time and tons of inconsistent layering, but you do have to hold it in tongs or suspended in something for like 3 minutes straight. But this, almost dropped it. This is still far more efficient and gets me even layerage. The problem is now I have to like do the grip of God like this for 2 minutes straight. Do a little dipperoonie and cheese right here. Putting a lot of layers on this, but I do know there's a pretty prime glaze line right here, so I'm not worried about it running off the shelf. I still cleaned the foot, I still gave it about a 1/2 inch of clearance space there, but I still don't think it'll run whatsoever off the foot, so I think we're pretty safe. You know, for anyone out there who wonders how to make drippy glazes, what you're really doing is you're putting more of a stable base here, even a runny base. It just can't be like a crystal glaze because it'll run everything. And then you're putting a runny glaze up here, and the runny glaze will usually run down the body while keeping the rest of it stable. That's half of the drippy glazes you see. It's just somebody forcing the glaze to run, realistically. And I do think this might make what you would consider a drippy glaze if we let it run a lot. And generally speaking, that consists of putting like 5 or 6 layers on one part, but this allows the extra space to run. So this right here is going to be the distance that it'll run. But if you put it way down here, it's just going to run right off the pot. It doesn't have any distance. Let's just do a little rimmy job like we did with the other one. I wouldn't really know where to begin applying this type of glaze job on the rim to make it all even. So I'm going to take the latter glaze combination where we just mixed together teal drift and lunar pink, and I'm going to brush these on. And we can kind of look at these at a later time and see how the effect goes versus the other two pots. So I'm not saying this is your brushing test style because we're not really doing one of those today, but if you're interested, this should be a good version of the brushing. Okay, there's 3 coats right there. Oh, my finger strength is unmatched, I tell you. I tell you, it's unmatched. Gonna wait for it to dry. Just a little bit.
Don't be rude.
You know, I feel like we've essentially hit the full gambit. We've done one plate that's a mix. We've done another plate that's like the gloop itself a mix. We've done one that's over under, and we've done one that's over under. And so this one here, I feel like I told you we're going to test this for something, but I sort of want to do my own combination. So if you don't mind, with your permission, I would like to do an ancient copper and teal drift combo, because we've done one before. I did this. I did teal drift, and then I put ancient copper on top, and this did not come out good. But I have seen a couple of posts from AMACO doing ancient copper and then teal drift over that, and I want to see how that works out on a super garbage mixed clay body. This is weird B-mix here, and this is, you know, this is like redstone mixed in. This is just a recycled clay body. So I'm going to brush this entire thing, and we're going to wait for the layers to dry, and we're going to do everything properly so that you can see how this would come out. I promise I'm not going to pour it on, even though I really want to. We do still need to glaze the inside, but I am not wasting my circa 2000 ancient copper. This is the old version. I'm not doing that. We're saving this stuff. We're putting the rest of it in teal drift. So keep in mind, I've brushed this entire ancient copper product about 3 to 4 layers, probably closer to 4, because I'm pretty familiar with ancient copper. We're gonna leave that amount right there. We're really going to be testing the rim. That's what I'm interested in. Let's put on 2 layers of teal drift right at the top. Okay, and as we usually do, let's take a look at what we're putting into the kiln before we actively put them in. This is a B-mix with grog plate that I did at work. This is a very special plate as it will appear in 2 different episodes. We mixed together teal drift and lunar pink in a 1-for-1 ratio. We did about 50 milliliters of each one, mixed them up real good, and so that's why you have this off color that is neither teal drift nor lunar pink. So this is going to be our active test that our patron requested. I think this is what they had in mind when they asked this question. And this one over here is a bit of a combination. Instead of mixing the glaze together, this was our very first test. This is just a big old glob of lunar pink mixed in with teal drift. I didn't actively homogenize everything beforehand. I just kind of put them in a 50-50 ratio and dumped them on. So this way we might be able to see some good separation in between these 2 colors. However, the backside of this is the brushed on version of the combined glaze of teal drift and lunar pink. So it's basically this, except for I essentially poured this one on and brushed the back. This one is only brushed. So this will kind of act as our brushing test style for those of you who are wondering how it'll be brushed on. All layers that I've brushed on here on these plates are 3 to 4 layers, probably veering more on 4. These 2 over here, however, are our porcelain test style. This is a white porcelain clay body with lunar pink and teal drift on top. I didn't brush this, I poured both of these on, and I just did the rim trick that I usually do on the channel for this one right here. So that's what that is, that's poured. And this one here is the opposite. This here is teal drift as a base with lunar pink on top. The only difference is that this is on a redstone clay body. This is also poured on. The main one that I'm really concerned about, just for myself, because this is mainly for the patron request, is this one over here. AMACO made a video, and I'll link that down below, of them doing a combination of ancient copper and teal drift and seeing how it comes out. And of course, I've done this before, but I've done it kind of over and under instead of under and over. So this here is my test with ancient copper and teal drift, but I did teal drift first. The company, or at least the video, had said you should do ancient copper first. So this is my older version of ancient copper. This is not the new version. I still have plenty of the old one left, with teal drift on top of it. The difference is that this entire thing is brushed on. So it's about 4 layers of ancient copper up here, 3 layers down here. I did layer down. And this one here does have 4 layers of ancient copper on it, and then 2 layers of teal drift on top. So this is for you brushers out there. This is 100% brushed on, other than the inside. Okay, with that being said, let's put everything in the kiln. Okay, now that everything's out of the kiln, let's take a look. This is lunar pink mixed in with teal drift, and I mixed the actual glaze beforehand instead of layering them. it's okay. You know, it's not great. I can definitely see the lunar pink popping out here, but the teal drift decided to take over. And I can see a tiny bit of what they were going for with the phase separation right here, but overall I don't think this is an impressive combo. I think this is just, I accidentally made like a light navy blue, I guess. I don't know what I would call this, but usually the teal drift comes out really good by itself as far as this delicious green color. I think I still have some testers over here of it. Yeah, here it is. This is how it comes out on white clay. Usually teal drift comes out like this, and I prefer this over this all day long. And then the lunar pink usually comes out, yeah, kind of like this right here, this pinkish. And you know, like this is neither of those. So while I think the combination of the glaze, what I'm gonna call the juice itself, is okay, I don't know, man. I'm not into. You might be into it. I'm not into it. Someone out there right now is like, oh my god, it's so beautiful. I would do it. Please tell me the ratio. Just buy one that is light blue. Buy a light blue, and it's the same thing. This one is teal drift with lunar pink poured on. Wow, I actually kind of like that a lot, to be honest with you. I definitely see the quote-unquote phase separation right here. And I think what AMACO is going for as far as phase separation is just these little kind of dots right here. You can very easily see it on the bottle. This is their variation of phase separation. And I kind of have my own perceived notions about phase separation and what it ought to look like. But I think theirs is just as good. And I can definitely see what they're going for with these little splotches here. I definitely think this is what they were going for in the first place. This is a good combo. If I were to give you a suggestion, I wouldn't mix the actual glaze itself. I would just combo it. This beats this all day long in my mind, to be honest with you. And keep in mind, you did see me glaze them, and they are the same exact clay body of B mixed with grog. And they also sat in the same kiln next to each other. So it's not like there's anything different other than the way we applied the glaze. Everything else is the same. Now, these last two here are the over and under combos that we did. This is teal drift on a brown recycled clay body along with lunar pink on the top. And this slaps. I know we've already done the teal drift review, and because of this, we know now that it looks completely different when you put it on white clay versus brown clay. And I still have the testers over here. Here is our white clay counterpart for teal drift, and here is our brown or red clay counterpart, and it looks fantastic. And so I expect it to look a little bit different on mixed clay body, and that's exactly what I got here. This mixed clay body has little notes of iron right there, and that's exactly what I wanted. But they're cut in half because this is mixed. This isn't entirely brown, while this one over here is. So you get a really good variation and a lot of visual indication on whether I used it on white versus mixed, and you can definitely see a scale here versus this. These could all be different glazes, to be honest with you. If you told me this and this were different glazes, I would assume they're from the same base with one additive. Now this one is teal drift with lunar pink on top. Let's check out lunar pink with teal drift on top, because it does make a difference in the way you combo things. This is lunar pink with teal drift on top. Ooh, that's a good pink right there. That's a real good pink. It's difficult to find a good pink, and it's even more difficult to photograph a good pink. Anyone who's messed with urabium? I forgot what the rare earth mineral is called, but for quite some time I was messing with the color pink, and the easiest way to make it, and the most expensive way to make it, for me, is just to put something that makes pink in it. So I messed with that for a bit, and I'm telling you, it's so difficult to photograph pink. The difference in between how hard my camera is having to work to pick up this color and the clarity I'm getting versus this is wild. That's pretty good right there, though. I don't hate this. I think this would be a really good light additive, especially because you don't want a pot that's just monochromatically pink. But this here, this is what's hitting me, for sure. Usually I use stuff as testers if something's wrong with them, but I can't find out what's wrong with this one. I don't see anything, so... The bottom cracked? No, I didn't glaze it all the way. It's a tester, though. Yep. Okay, we might put this on the website at earthnationceramics.com. We'll sell this on the low, just to get rid of it. That's what I call it. I call it on the low now. Because I'm so gangster. There is one more combo that we did, but I didn't like it too much. This is ancient copper, I think underneath teal drift. And I say I think because as I pulled it out, I can't really tell that it is, other than a slight green at the top. I really don't see the combination, and I assume that I put it on either too thick or incorrect. It kind of just seems to turn all my ancient copper red into this kind of muted brown, which is what I don't want. I'm actually hesitant to show you this because I've seen AMACO come out with this very combination, and it looked fantastic on their YouTube channel. So when I did it, I thought I'd get the same results, but I must have glazed incorrectly or something, but you saw me glaze it the way I glazed it, so you be the judge of that, but I didn't really get a lot of good color, unfortunately. It might be the fact that I am using a mixed clay body, so the majority of this on the top is brown. And ancient copper and brown clay ain't super close friends, so that might be it. Well, thank you, Dirty Potters, for joining me today. You know, I know this was a shorter episode, mainly because one of my patrons asked me to do something on camera for them, and so I wanted to go through the gambit of trying to get all the combinations that they asked from me. And I was wondering to myself, where are they getting this information? Of course, I went to AMACO's YouTube channel and I saw all the testers over there, and they look fantastic. The majority of the things that we got out of the kiln came out exactly how you would expect them from AMACO's website. In fact, I do think we have a teal drift from one of the last episodes along with ancient copper right here. You've probably already seen this. And this is kind of how I expected this to come out, but this is sort of reverse from this. So if I were you, I'd put teal drift first and then ancient copper. Don't put ancient copper first and then teal drift. I do not think it'll turn out that great. I think one of the reasons I love teal drift in general is not only because you get two different applications in two different clay bodies and two different glazes, but it also combos pretty well. But I do think in my heart of hearts, in my kingdom hearts, you might say, I'm so tired of people just slurping up the color blue day and night that if AMACO comes out with a really good green that's phase separation and it's multi-utility like this, I know this is not a teal drift episode. I know we did that already. I'll link that down below. But I really love teal drift just because it's a little bit out of the norm, but it's still just enough in the norm to be high usage and also grab people away from floating blue all the time. Well, thank you, Dirty Potters, for joining me today, and thank you to my patrons for requesting stuff. Keep sending me messages on Patreon, and we will get more ideas for videos like this. I love your Dirty Potter faces, and I will see you guys next week.
Thank you for your patronage.
You know what's a bit unfortunate is that we're going to have to do an entire, like, lunar pink line because we just tested the mix today, and we are going to do a lunar pink episode soon, trust me. But I am not looking forward to it at all.